All right, good morning, and thank you for dialing into our virtual information session today. My name is Timmy Lawless, and I will be your moderator for today's event. This information is targeted toward recruiting enlisted airmen for duty as AFOSI special agents. If you are interested in civilian or officer recruiting, we can answer your question after the briefing is over. The plan for today will be to provide a pre-prepared briefing about the AFOSI mission and the process for applying to be a special agent. We will then move to questions from the audience. Please drop your questions in the chat as we go, and we will answer them in the order that they came in. Also, we do plan to record this to make it available to others, so please leave your camera off unless you are asking a question. With that, let me introduce today's briefers, and I will hand it over to them. Agent Charles Garcia and Agent Josh Acosta.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Special Agent Joshua Acosta, one of the enlisted recruiters here with Special Agent Charles Garcia. I'll give you a little quick background about myself. I've been in the Air Force for about 16 years. I did 6 years as vehicle maintenance as a fire truck mechanic, and then I did a DSD as a ALS instructor for 4 years. And that's where I was recruited out of. So I went from being an ALS instructor into OSI. I've been OSI for about 6 years, where I have done a deployment, a short tour, and found myself here in the recruiting section. So as we move forward in through the process, sharing my experiences with you guys and let you guys know that we do recruit from all career fields. So a lot of people think that maybe that is just for security forces or specific career fields, but we are open to all career fields when it comes to recruiting. I'll hand it over to Special Agent Garcia.
Good morning, everybody. Like I said, I'm Special Agent Garcia. I used to be air transportation. I've done time at Little Rock, Nellis, Creech. I've been overseas on both sides of the house, both as OSI and as air transportation. I can tell you those experiences are pretty different. So we'll probably talk to that a little bit later on. Like you said, we recruit from all the AFSCs, so be proud of those AFSCs that you're all in now. That's what we're really after. Those experience that you're going to gain in the current AFSC that you are in is the ones that we're really looking for, bringing that knowledge over, because believe it or not, a lot of that stuff helps us out quite a bit.
Thank you, Agent Garcia. So along with Agent Garcia and myself, we have some other members on the team. You got to meet Mr. Timmy Lawless, but along with him on our professional staff, we have Tech Sergeant Latasha Johnson and Staff Sergeant Gordon Rosale. So during the process, if you decide to join OSI or apply for OSI, you could see individuals, emails from individuals from our team, not just Special Agent Garcia and I. We also have Special Agent Jennifer Holland, who's our civilian recruiter, so you might get some interaction with her as well. A quick overview for today's briefing. I'm going to try to keep the briefing to about an hour, give or take, so that we can have time for some questions and we can answer all those accordingly. So we'll start off with the Air Force's OSI's vision and the mission, go over the organizational structure, roles and functions, realities of the profession, and then we'll get into the recruiting phases. Once we get into the recruiting phases, I'll hand the mic over to Special Agent Garcia, and he'll go through the recruiting phases, which he'll walk you through that process if you decide to apply for OSI. Then we'll get into the training at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and then some of our specialties. After our specialties, that'll be the end of the briefing, and then we can answer any questions you may have after. If at any time during the briefing, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and Mr. Lawless will be monitoring the questions so we can answer those as we go through the slides. So moving into the Air Force's mission and who we are. So we're the Department of the Air Force's only federal law enforcement and counterintelligence agency capable of executing criminal investigations and counterintelligence operations across full spectrum and conflict in any domain. So we're very unique in what we do and how we operate. So when it says the Department of the Air Force, we also take care of the Space Force at this time. We don't have any agents in the Space Force. All agents are part of the Air Force, but we do service the Space Force as well. Our vision is to be trusted, ready, and vital to the global investigative agency, always finding truth, thwarting all threats, and promoting unfailing justice to the nation. So trusted, ready, and vital. Obviously, those words are highlighted for a reason. If you look at the pictures at the bottom, we operate in many different environments. So with the teams that we're working with, building that trust so that they trust that the information that we're providing them or the support that we're providing them is good enough for what they are asking from us. From the PSO detail on the bottom right-hand corner for General Brown to the far left to briefing somebody or individuals from another department like the Marines, because we can potentially be the only agency within a country that has the threat information that they're looking for to be able to operate within that country. Or from the middle picture, operating in some type of special forces environment where you're working with other special forces teams, depending on what your job is. So being trusted in all the different communities that we operate in is very important. Ready always, as they say, we need to be able to go wherever OSI is asking us, wherever the Air Force is and our customer is asking us. So whether it's, making sure that you're up to date on all of your deployment stuff, your profile, your qualifications, stuff, things like that, so that we can move at any time that we need to. And obviously being vital to the global investigative global investigative agency. So it's very important that we understand what it is that we do and how we operate. Moving on to the Air Force OSI's mission. So we're here to identify, exploit, neutralize criminal intelligence and terrorist threats in multiple domains to the Department of Defense and the United States government. So identify, exploit, neutralize. Again, you look at those different areas that we operate in, whether it's stateside in a law enforcement capacity or a counterintelligence capacity, or if it's overseas in a deployed environment in that counterintelligence capacity. So I like to use the example to identify, exploit, and neutralize, something that everyone can kind of relate to. Most everybody in the Air Force has had a drug test. So you think about somebody who's gone down to a random urinalysis and they have a positive outcome to that urinalysis to whatever drug it may be. So obviously that airman or that individual is probably going to get in some type of trouble, but that's not where we stop the buck. So we need to make sure that we're able to identify where this individual got the drugs. Are they bringing them on base? Are they coming from off base? Can we work with the local law enforcement to make sure that we stop whatever's happening off base to prevent them from coming on base? So as we identify those different things, we are going to work to exploit that using our expertise, whether it be our own expertise on base or working with the local law enforcement off base. So as we start to exploit that using that individual and that information that we've gained, we are then going to go to neutralize whatever that is so that we don't have that problem anymore, or we can mitigate it for as long as possible. So if we stopped it just at the positive urinalysis from that airman, and they just get in trouble and then we don't do anything else about it, then we will potentially have a continuous problem. On the same side of the different side of the coin, you have it from a counterintelligence standpoint. If you're working in a deployed environment overseas, then looking from terrorist threats, we have OCNs, other country nationals that work on the bases that we work on. They could be gathering information, counting buildings, locations, people, and providing that to individuals that they are reporting to. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to identify, exploit, and neutralize. So it works in the same different avenues we'll take, but it works the same for both sides of the house. Breaking down our organizational structure. So the law enforcement community is quite large if you look at it from the United States standpoint, from all the different agencies. We're one of 18,000. You think of your small towns that have, the little police departments in them. So when it comes to from federal all to your local law enforcement, there's about 18,000 of them. Breaking down even further, we're one of 97 federal law enforcement agencies. So on the federal side of the house, you think about FBI, NCIS, things of that nature. Most of them will go through the same federal law enforcement training academy that we'll go through, but that number is going to continuously to shrink as we get through this. Next, we are one of 17 agencies with U.S. intelligence community. So counterintelligence initiatives, so we fall underneath that umbrella, and we have the ability to operate in different environments when it comes to counterintelligence. And then even smaller, we're one of 3 agencies with worldwide law enforcement and counterintelligence authorities. So you have us, you have NCIS, and you have the FBI. So we'll work closely with them whenever we operate in those environments, whether it be law enforcement or counterintelligence, whether it be stateside or in an overseas environment. And then lastly, we are the only federal investigative agency with a diverse mission set with both LE and CIX executed by an active duty military, civilian, and reserve workforce. So you think about the makeup of us as an agency, active duty, civilian, and reserve workforce. The other 2 agencies that I talked about, the FBI and NCIS, those are mostly, if not all, made up of civilians. So we operate in a unique environment where we have an understanding of our workforce as the Department of the Air Force and people coming from different career fields and having the ability to connect in those different environments makes us very unique in the way that we operate. I think we have a hot mic. So moving on to organizational structure, if you take a look at this map across the world, we're pretty much everywhere. Just because you don't see a dot somewhere on this map doesn't mean we're not there. We operate in pretty much all these environments, but you might not see it. So we have about 300 units across the globe, 7 different regions across that make up these 300 units, comprised of 3,600 personnel approximately. Of those 3,600 personnel, between 900 to 1,200 of them are going to be enlisted, give or take. So only a small portion of us are on the enlisted side. The rest make up your officers, your contractors, your professional staff. So just as important as an agent, we do need our pro staff and our officer agents, our civilian agents that help navigate through the different environments that we work in. We have 99 people serving in on FBI CITIFs, 17 overseas force protection detachments, and 9 SOG offices. Most of these other things like the SOG offices or the force protections and the CITIFs are going to be operated by civilian agents, just the way that our authorities are written. The only individuals who can really operate underneath those umbrellas are going to be civilian agents. Moving on to our roles and functions. So we're charged with autonomous, timely, and unbiased investigative responsibilities to defend the nation, pursue justice, and protect the Department of the Air Force to find the truth. So autonomous, timely, and unbiased. Most people have some autonomy within their career field when it comes to other career fields outside of OSI and the Air Force. OSI is really going to count on you with being autonomous in your job. So when you graduate the academy and you get to your first detachment, you're probably within the first couple weeks have your first case, whether it's a death case, a child case, a drug case, and you're going to be asked to basically figure it out from the training that you had. Working with your team, obviously, if you have questions, but there's not really going to be anybody there to hold your hand. So you're going to have to make up investigative plans. You're going to have to come up with interview plans, and you're going to have to do a lot of this stuff on your own, thinking outside the box. So when it comes to the different type of investigations that we work, they're not all the same. Even if you have 2 very similar cases, the interviews are going to go differently. The evidence is going to be different. So using the autonomy that you have to make sure that you are working effectively to find the truth in that, whatever that case is. For timeliness, all cases have timelines for the most part. Fraud cases can run pretty long. Not all fraud cases have timelines, but our simple cases like drug cases or sexual assault cases, 75 days to run those cases. And then our child cases and our death cases, we have 180 days to run those cases. So we are running up against timelines not only for our cases, but people's lives are also put on hold whenever we are running cases. So if you have someone who's being accused of a crime, then their security clearance is potentially held. They're not able to PCS, potentially their line number is being held. So it's important that we make sure that we're working diligently in finding that truth so we can get those individuals back to the workforce. Same thing when for under timeliness, if you're running a case, potentially, say that has a child involved, maybe child maltreatment or child neglect or a child death case, you could eventually turn in from a child neglect to a child death case, but essentially you running up against some time frames there as well when it comes to the safety of individuals that are involved in that case. For unbiasedness, going back to the child case, you think of a child who's been neglected or who is their home is unsafe for them, and you have to go in afterwards and interview those parents that have been neglecting that child, or there's been a child death case, and you have to treat them like human beings, like they're innocent essentially until you find that truth. But everyone has biases, so you're going to have to remove your biases from those interviews and from dealing with those individuals that are involved in that case. If we're not able to remove our biases, whenever we go into those interview rooms, they're recorded and they're mic'd. So everything that you do and you say is captured during those interviews. And potentially if you go to court and you are called to testify, and that is shown to the defense and to the court, then that case could potentially be thrown out, or the justice that we are looking for potentially is not served. Some Air Force roles and functions. So investigative activities. So most of our job is going to revolve around interviews, so subject interviews, victim interviews, or witness interviews, and everything we do is documentation is required. So a big portion of our job and how it's made up is documentation. If it's not documented, then it didn't happen. You imagine if you go to court and you say that you did, A, B, and C, but it's not documented. One, they're probably going to laugh at you, but two, the defense is probably going to tear you apart. So making sure that we document and document effectively is very important. Some of the things that we do that require documentation or will require documentation so that you can do it is crime scene processing, searches, evidence collection, surveillance, autopsy observations, and search warrants. So if you have a crime scene, or if you have a case that you're running that you want to search somebody's car or their house, you have to put together a search warrant, an affidavit. You have to put all the specific details about what you're looking for and where you want to search. So that documentation portion of that comes. It's very important so that you make sure you don't miss anything. Autopsy observations. You're going to have to go to autopsies if you have a death case, and you're going to have to take notes, potentially have to take fingerprints, and help out the coroner or that doctor whenever it comes to running that autopsy, so that you can take all that information back and put it in your case. More roles and functions. So OSI investigates felony level offenses. So we do work very closely with security forces and local law enforcement, but if it's not a felony level case, then we will usually pass the buck to them, or vice versa. If they get something and it turns into a felony level offense or felony level case, then they'll pass it to us. The different types of cases that we run: criminal investigations, counterintelligence investigations, and economic crime investigations, which is essentially fraud. On the criminal side of the house, Most of the cases that you're going to see is going to be sex offenses, drug crimes, and crimes against children. So you do see some of the other things, but the majority of the cases across the Air Force are those big three things. Drug cases we don't run too much anymore unless it's dealing with distribution, manufacturing, or drug rings. On the counterintelligence side, it's kind of different whether you're operating stateside, overseas, or a deployed environment. But they essentially are looking for the same thing. So from espionage, terrorism, technology transfer, anti-terrorism, force protection, things of that nature. And then on the economic crimes investigation side, we have procurement fraud and we have base level fraud. So you can find yourself in a specialty like procurement fraud, where all you do is run fraud cases, or working out of your local detachment, doing some base level fraud stuff, or being in charge of your base level fraud program. I'll pause for a second right here before we get into realities of the profession to see if we have any questions before we move on. I'll give it a minute, and if you can type them in the chat or you can raise your hand. Looks like we don't have any questions, so I'll go ahead and move forward with realities of the profession. So realities of the profession is something that we hit on pretty hard, and we hit on a lot. This won't be the first time you see realities of the profession. You'll see it multiple more times throughout the process if you decide to apply for OSI. So we'll go over realities of the profession here, and then one of the forms that you will fill out if you decide to apply, you'll see realities of the professions on that form. And then once you have your interview with the local detachment, you'll also go over the realities of the profession again. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure that you know what you are getting into when you decide to change career fields and come into OSI. And if selected, that you know what the impact could be on yourself, personally, professionally, and for your family as well. So we'll hit on most of these. There's quite a few slides, but I'll hit on most of them, and then you'll see them again. So agents primarily handle paperwork. Like I'd mentioned, documentation is very heavy in this career field, but it's just part of the job. You do get to do fun things, but whenever it looks like whatever we have something that we do, it requires a documentation. If you stay on top of your documentation, you can do some of the funner things. I'm a community policer myself, so I like to go out and get to know the units, and be out from behind my desk as much as possible. So prioritizing your work and making sure that you stay on top of your documentation and all the paperwork that's required of you is important, so that you can do other things as well. Mr. Lawless, I see that you have your hand up. Did you want to add something?
Hey, sir, we just got a question here. The question is, if it is found that a case was done in a biased manner, will the timeline reset with a new agent? And also, what happens to the biased individual?
So there's a few things that could happen in this type of case. There's been times where I've seen individuals be removed from the case if it's caught early, and then someone else will take over that case and they'll continue to run that case. A lot of times, if it gets to court and that bias information is, put into the court on your, whether it be the defense uses it against you or not, it's really going to change the outcome of that case. And that case is probably going to close, and we're not going to see the outcome, and we won't get another chance to run that case again. But if we can catch it before that, because it does happen, if we know we review these cases over and over again, whether it be us, our leadership, our coworkers that we work with. So it's not always something that we do on purpose either. So the individual will probably get talked to make sure that, they're aware of that blind spot that they have. And then, they'll work on it. Obviously, if they're doing it on purpose, the outcome could be different, but it's really hard to remove yourself from those biased opinions sometimes, and you don't even know that you're doing it. Agent Garcia, did you want to add something?
Yeah, and like I said, just to add, OSI and the legal in general does have some fail-safes built in to where if anything like that is identified, to include an outside organization providing us a case, and it being, I guess, information in that being revealed too early or something like that without consent. What will happen is those case files get sealed, switched over to another agent. Anybody that had ever touched or read any documentation within that that file, those guys will be removed from the case, and it'll start over with a new batch of agents, and the other agents cannot even talk about it to the new agents, so they can't be involved in any way at that point.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different avenues that can be taken for these type of situations. Mostly it's caught before, like Agent Garcia said, and then the individuals are removed from the case. But uh, most of the time as well, there's not going to be a negative outcome for that agent. They're just going to be made aware of it and have to work on it.
Thanks, sir. We have another question here. How is the overall emotional health of agents prioritized through working on the difficult cases like child-related cases or sexual assault? Is there recuperation time after completing investigations?
Yeah, so obviously these are things that we're going to have to work through, and I wouldn't say use the word to avoid them, but leadership will work to make sure that you're not getting a lot of the same cases that potentially could negatively affect you. So leadership is really good about prioritizing case management amongst individuals. Maybe somebody in your team is okay with working the child cases because they don't have children. So they'll try to prioritize those cases if the team is okay with it that way. Same with the sexual assault cases, or if all you're seeing is child cases, they'll try to give you a break from that if they can. There is recuperation time after completing investigations, depending obviously how heavy your debt is inundated with cases. A lot of the times you're going to have 2 to 4 cases. You'll finish 1 or 2 cases, then you'll have 1 or 2 more cases coming in. So depending on the severity of the case is probably going to depending on what type of recuperation time that you need. I know there's been agents in the field or even detachments in the field that had some pretty gruesome cases, and they'll bring in support from another detachment to help alleviate some of that for the team and let them take some of that recuperation time, like to talk to chaplains or medical professionals to make sure that they are being taken care of. It's one good thing about a lot of good things about OSI, but they are really good about taking care of their people, and there's no negative uh, there's nothing on you or negative for you if you seek medical help through your team. They actually want you to, and most agents in the field, they are talking to somebody regularly because the type of things that we see on a regular basis. So it's not frowned upon to go seek help when needed.
Hey, we got another question here, sir. When
Okay.
in the field are agents required to travel often or TDY? Are most cases for your home station?
So you have an AOR, an area of responsibility. So most cases will be for your station, but a lot of people live outside of the base. So you will have to do a lot of things off base. There's going to be times where maybe a civilian is involved because of the local area and they live an hour or 2 away. So you might have to travel to those areas to conduct interviews. So it can be anywhere from the base to a few hours, depending on uh, your area of responsibility and how wide it is. For TDYs, if you PCS away from the base that you were running cases at and the case that you had doesn't go to court while you're there and it goes to court after you leave, then you will TDY back if you're called to testify. So that is a possibility as well. A lot of times we don't see the justice system move as fast as we would like it to. So sometimes it could take a couple months, sometimes it could take up to a year for them to get through the process of going to court. So there will be times where you will potentially have to TDY back to wherever you're at to conduct or to testify on your case. If someone else PCSs or they go TDY and they do something while they're TDY, you potentially could have to go TDY as well to get those individuals to bring them back or to have to conduct interviews in those areas if something happened in those areas, depending on the severity of that case. 9 times out of 10, if it's not a subject or a victim, then we are not going to require to TDY. If it's just a witness of a case, then we can send what we call leads out. And so someone else from a base, a detachment from that base can conduct those interviews for us. Good questions. Thank you. So I'll keep moving, and if we have more questions, we can stop, or we can catch them on the back end as well. So the hours, obviously, as we kind of talked to this, you kind of feel like, or you have an understanding that we work all hours. Crimes happen mostly on the weekends and Fridays for some reason. So you could be, doing things with your family, or you could be out, doing things with your friends, and potentially something happens and you're going to have to leave whatever you're doing. It could be a birthday, it could be Christmas, and you could potentially have to pick up and go, respond to whatever happened. So if you have a larger detachment, like 8 to 12 people, then you will probably break up those hours and those days. So maybe for the month, you'll have a team of 4 to 6 that will respond to specific things within that month, and then you'll do like a changeover for the every other month or so. If you're in a smaller detachment where you have 2 to 4 agents, most likely everybody's going to have to respond if it's a child case, if it's a egregious sexual case, or a death case. So you'll have to drop what you're doing, whether it's a birthday party, it's Christmas Day, and you'll have to respond. So there's something to make sure that you understand whenever it comes to what's required of you as an agent. Some cases that you're running, the first 24 hours are probably going to be the busiest for you because of collecting evidence and interviews and things of that nature. So those long work hours are not always there, but you can be, those first 24 hours, you could be running 10 to the full 24 hours, depending on what you're doing. So OSI is really good about taking care of the people and giving time back, though. So they understand that we work irregular hours a lot. So they will give you, some of that time back whenever we are capable to do that. So they are aware of that. Versatile cases. So uh, you could be running cases from criminal cases to CI cases to fraud cases. You could be working in the crim shop and have to go work CI because CI is busy, or vice versa. So we are very versatile in what we do, and that's what makes us unique as an agency. So understand that just because you like crim cases doesn't mean you won't find yourself working in fraud or counterintelligence. So it's something that is going to be required of you to do throughout your career field, or throughout your career in OSI. And if you go to a specialty, your specialties are about 2 to 4 years long, and then you're usually required to go back to your career field to support the regular mission. Cases can be prolonged and frustrating, so they don't always work out the way we want them to. They don't always go the way we want them to. So it can be very time consuming, and they can take longer than we would like them to take, especially when it comes to that justice system, as I mentioned. You could be waiting for that case to go to court for anywhere from a couple months to a year potentially. So understanding that, some of these things are out of our hands when it comes to how they close out. Um, One of the things about OSI is it just doesn't affect you as a person. It also affects your family. So making sure that you communicate with them about what's going on in your life. You might not be able to talk to them about your cases or the people that you're running cases with. So you have to make sure that they understand that these things are not always going to be able to be communicated just because of the nature of the case. I see the spouse pages, spouses talk, people talk on those pages. So we all trust our significant others and our friends, but sometimes things slip. So the last thing we want to do is ruin a case because we decided to tell somebody we shouldn't tell about a high level case. That's coming into being held to a higher standard as agents. And then carrying firearms, respond to different dangers. That goes into, making sure you let your significant others or your family know about those things. When it comes to firearms, we carry every day on the job. and then you can carry off duty and you can fly arms. So making sure that you understand that, yes, it might seem like a cool thing to be able to carry a firearm whenever you're off duty or to be able to fly armed. It is very important to know that there's some repercussions that could come from deciding to, draw your firearm if you feel like you're in a situation off duty to do that, or in an airport if just flash your gun or something because you're not concealing appropriately. How are you going to respond to that? So just make sure that you're prepared uh, to take on those responsibilities as well. Along with firearms, you have to qualify annually, and we have to make sure that we pro fire and stay proficient quarterly. Moving on to understanding that we will take a pledge as agents as well once you graduate FLETC. So you not only take your pledge to come into the Air Force, but you are going to be held to higher standards as well as a special agent and a federal law enforcement agency, and you're going to have to abide by other rules and laws and customs that you might not be used to. So understanding that that you are aware of that as well, and you follow our codes of conduct as a federal agency and those standards. So when it comes to agents will refrain from unacceptable investigative procedures. So we all watch TV. We all see the cool shows and the cool things that people do on the TV shows. So we just want to make sure that we are operating within our realm and what is required of us, following our guidance and not doing things that we've seen on TV just because we feel like it, would fit or because it looks cool. So individuals need to make sure that they are following guidance when it comes to running investigations and procedures within OSI. And then making sure, again, going along the lines of what I said about making sure that you tell your family about what you're doing, but you can't always release that information to them. So those security matters can become detrimental to the mission and to our country if we don't pay attention to that. All right, looks like, yes, Agent Garcia, looks like.
I think this is a good time for us to address Sergeant Fernandez has a question right here. If an agent is no longer feels fit for the nature of the job after being added to the team, can they retrain easily to be sent back to their career field? What kind of input do you have on that one right there? I got a little bit myself.
Yeah, so we do, we vet individuals very closely when it comes to choosing individuals through the application process. So we typically, choose individuals that we feel are a good fit for the agency, but it doesn't always work out that way, or individuals who are applying don't always understand what they're getting into. So it's very important, one, that you do your homework and you figure out and you learn more about what we do, and two, that you get down to the local detachment wherever you're located and you get to know what they do on a day-to-day basis from a personal standpoint and how it's affected them and how they've dealt with some of their issues. You are on probation for about 15 months. So during that 15-month time frame, there is a possibility that if you find out during that 15 months that it's not for you, that you can request to be sent back to your old career field. So it can happen. Does it always happen? No. OSI likes to try to help individuals along the way to find out what they can do to help them get through whatever challenging times they're having. But it is a possibility that you could request or even not request, and the agency OSI feels like you're not a good fit for them during that time, and they send you back to your career field as well. Anything to add, Agent Garcia?
No, I think you hit it pretty much on the nail on the head type deal. This isn't going to be like one of those organizations where you can, like in the movies, you just put your badge and creds on the counter and swoop them over to your boss and say, I'm done. I want to go back. Like that's why they had the realities of profession several times in here, and throughout this entire process, is because we want to make you guys understand that that it's not going to be like that. You know, you're going to have some really bad days in this. Everybody that you guys visit with in this organization, these guys are there probably on the worst days of their life. Sometimes it's probably not, but it is there. I mean, it's day after day, kind of like that, you know. And and worst case scenario, well, they'll move you around within the organization, right? That's why we have so many add-ons and stuff like that, so we don't get burnt out doing the same thing. And this job is all about advocating for yourself. You know, telling people that, you know what, that right there was a little bit too much for me. I thought I could handle that, couldn't handle it. They'll move you to some other type of case or something like that. So there's always, you know, maybe CI or something. You know, there's other avenues to grow within the organization. So that's it for me.
Hey, we got another question here, guys. Are you capable of pursuing a specific category such as cyber?
Yes, so we do have about 12 specialties within OSI. Will be the last slide that we go over. So there are specialties that you can move into. I wouldn't say all of them are temporary because some of them people stay in for a prolonged period of time, but you can promote yourself out of a lot of these specialties. Most of them are, senior airman to technical sergeant, because we want to make sure that we have field agents that are running these things, and then we have very little leadership positions within the specialties. So you could promote yourself out and get pushed back to the career field, but yes, pursuing specialties in OSI is a possibility. All right, if we have no other questions before we get into the phases, Agent Garcia is going to take over, and he's going to go through the application process and what each phase looks like, and kind of some of the mistakes that we see that hold people up during the application process. So I will hand it over to him, and I will take you guys back after he's done.
All right. All right. Like you said, up here on the side, we got 4 initial phases. You know, the 0 to 3, the pre-ASI, and then the ASI, right? Ultimately, throughout the entire process, from beginning to end here, you'll see that we get about 1,000 applicants a year, and throughout these process, we lose about 750 of them. And a lot of it kind of happens in this phase 0 and 1. In phase 0 right here, it's no time limit, so it's pretty much you get in, you apply, right? You're gonna determine your own eligibility to retrain, and we're gonna go to the when you go into this website right here, and you look for that picture right there, join. You'll end up going to this other one down here. You scroll down, find the link, log in with your CAC, right? Of that right there, you're just going to push enter, join now, and this is where you kind of pre-vet yourself. These questions right here, please pay attention to this first-term airman retraining windows. If you notice, we're also taking senior airmen through tech sergeant. We will allow A1Cs to kind of come in a little bit early if they're like going to retrain into the next window. I'm sorry, go up to the next rank within like the next month or two. Other than that, if you got like a little bit more than that on the time, we probably won't. We'll probably send you back and have you, just stay in your career field for a little bit longer. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just remind yourselves that law enforcement, it has a really high burnout rate, throughout their careers. If you guys get in too early, so think about that. Coming in straight at first day of your senior airman, we don't want you guys to get burnt out. You're gonna end up doing like 17 years of this. So some of these prerequisites here, right? You got to be a U.S. citizen, born by birth, naturalization. If you hold a dual citizenship, in order to join OSI, you're going to have to renounce that dual citizenship, or at least say provide a memo saying that you will, if selected. So they don't have to as long as you don't have that guarantee and you go out there and get rid of your citizenship. Must be 21 years of age. That's law enforcement in general. Must have a passing physical fitness assessment. With this right here, you can't have any wavered portions of that. Okay, must be worldwide qualified, no C codes, no codes in general, and you gotta have normal color vision. Okay, for this one right here, we gotta make sure that your TAFM's date, right? So if you are a 6-year senior airman or an 11-year staff sergeant, tech sergeant, you're gonna have to have a time and service waiver. This right here will happen a little bit later on in the process when you get to the pre-ASI phase, and that's when you kind of sit down with the local detachment and they're going to vet you a little bit further to see those reasons why you're a senior airman at 6 years still, and you are or 11 years tech sergeant, staff sergeant, and you haven't tried to pursue this career field earlier. For your ASVAB, got to have a 44 in the general, and we can accept a waiver, but we need you to retake that test, and we cannot accept waivers until you, or even consider a waiver until you have retaken the ASVAB. Okay, and then got to be able to have a top secret or SCI. So if you got one now, it's not going to help you out right now, but you will have to have it in the future. Okay. Phase one. Phase one, I'd say, is the biggest portion where we find that people drop out the most, right? This is where like that main chunk of that 75% comes from. And ultimately it's all in y'all's hands. We are gonna ask for approximately 13 pieces of documentation here. As you can see, you're gonna get a generated email if you guys are, unless you're health.mil. If there's any health.mil, can you raise your hand real quick? Okay, we're good to go. And okay, we got one health.mil. You guys will, okay, we got a couple. Ooh, got more than a couple. Okay, so what'll end up happening is you're gonna end up emailing us directly, and we're gonna submit you a form, and you're gonna do the same process, but it'll be more manual. Okay, so you guys can, you'll see the email at the very end here, which one you guys need to do. But other than that, the process is gonna be identical. Okay. And so as you can see here, a lot of the documentation we're going to do is we're going to provide everything here, right? It says 45 to 90 days. In that 45 days, me or Akash are going to go in there and we're going to look over the documentation that you guys have already provided. If we don't see anything in there, we're going to just let you all know, hey, don't forget you got an application open, reset you for another 45 days, which is why we have that 90-day mark. Okay. Within this, I'm telling y'all, like, a lot of this is very easy to do. As you could see, a lot of this stuff you guys should be able to get almost immediately. You got your 5 EPRs, your fitness assessment, the driver's license, passports. I mean, these are all things that you guys have at your disposal. So please, at least in that 45 days, at least get some of this stuff up there, right? It shows that you're being vetted throughout this entire process, and then it shows that, you know what, I'm putting something into this. Okay. For that 422, like I said, we're going to provide you the memo, but what we need to do, there's some red spots on the memo. Just fill out that information, and you're going to submit it through the IMR right here by going to the medical clearance, start a new medical clearance request. Make sure you click that top one there, retrain, reclass, and push next. Eventually, you'll submit your documentation for that memo. Okay. Some common mistakes or things that kind of hold you up in phase one is on this Air Force Form 61, which is very similar to your SF-86. You know, we're going to go in the background check and ask you about some things, you know, financial, like any kind of derogatory information that you might have had, speeding tickets, what have you, finances. Well, on one side of this right here, you'll see that there are gray boxes. Anytime you put an X in that gray box towards the bottom in section 14, you're going to put the number related to that and then write the reason why you marked that gray in that gray box, right? We get a lot of people that do that and then don't mark anything down here at the bottom. Towards this other one here, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a hot mic. I will find it real quick. There it is. Oop, got it. All right. The other part of this right here is the finances. A lot of people put the information at the top, but they don't mark in the gray here. Once you mark in the gray here, this one and in the summary portion. I'm telling you, like, I'd say like 1 out of 3 people will not complete that right there. And I'll have to send it back, which just extends your timeout. On the Air Force Form 84, he went over the, Agent Acosta went over the rallies profession earlier. This is going to be very similar to that. You're going to read each sentence and or each statement and then initial next to the left-hand side. Some people I've seen do the right-hand side. It's not very often, but it does happen. And you're only going to do the top portion of this. You're only going to sign and date the top portion. Eventually, you'll sit down and an agent will go over this again and sign and date the bottom, so you don't have to worry about that. For the Form 87, this is going to be the form that allows us to look at your medical records, allows us to look at your finances, and stuff like that pertinent to you. Some people on this one right here, they don't fill out that former address. You must have that. Even if you're overseas, just put it in there. We know you ain't been living in like Little Rock your entire life. You went to basic training. We know you went to different places. So just be sure to add that in there. And on this one right here, some people leave that blank, and then some people, this is like a witness spot. This witness can be anybody, obviously an adult who can say that, yes, this person has granted us the permission to look at all this documentation. It can't be your spouse or any kind of family members, though. Okay. On this DD form 2760, this one right here should be no. I'll be honest with you. This deals with if you've had any kind of like domestic violence stuff put against you, right? And you got to put no in here. We need your initials and a date next to it. I will be honest with you. If you have to push, or you find that you have to push yes on this one right here, that would be a no-go up front. I'd probably just rethink the application process. I see we got a couple hands raised. Go ahead, Acosta.
I think Mr. Lawless is going to get it too. We have a couple questions. I was going to see if you could address them. There's about 3 of them in there right now.
Hey,
yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yep, you got it right.
Oh,
so
perfect.
yes, sir. First question is, where are these forms provided?
Okay, the forms are going to be provided at the beginning of phase 1, right? The portal is designed to, when we move you into it, you're going to get automatic email, and in that, it's going to have those documents from earlier that say provided next to them. If you're medical, like I said, you're going to email us directly, and I'm going to provide them for you.
Okay, and then we have another question here. It says, I am in the process of getting an ETP and LOR signed by my commander, but I am not in the retraining window yet. As long as I get this stuff signed off, I should be good to continue the process, correct? I am just trying to retrain early.
That is correct. That ETP will allow you to retrain outside of your window, and your LOR is mandatory for anybody who's applying. So you're good to go.
And then last question so far, sir, is diagnosis of mental health disorders, do they disqualify you from application, such as bipolar disorder, anxiety, PTSD-MST, PTSD, or depression?
Okay, I don't believe that any of those on their own will be, disqualifiers. It's how they're being treated and how the rating or what the rating is on that Air Force Form 422 is that is provided by your PCM. The best thing I could say for that right there is get all the documentation together and we'll push it forward. Okay. At some point, we may have to reach back out to you for some corresponding medical documents that we can submit to our internal doc for review. Any more questions?
I think we're good so far, sir.
All right. I think we covered the Form 2760 pretty good. Some other things that some other common mistakes that we have is a lot of people want to submit their handwritten fitness scores. We need the digital one off of MyFitness. Let's see here. The copy of driver's license, color front and back. Sometimes we only get one side. Copy of the passport. Copy of the passport. It's got to be in color. I'll be honest. I've had people. I mean, this is how funny these things can get. We've actually had people submit the front cover of their passport to, I guess, show us that they have one. I'll be honest. If you send me that, the very next form I'm going to look at is your AFAB scores. Okay. But right here in the ASVAB scores, got to make sure that your it's a 44 in the general, and that you do have your name up at the top. You can't be, we got to make sure that those ASVAB scores are tied to you. And honestly, any way that you guys get us those ASVAB scores, I know there's various types of documents that you guys can submit to have them on it. We'll take any of those. All right. Any questions about phase one?
Hey, we got a question here, sir. If you do not already have a passport, do you have to get one prior to applying?
No. If you have one, some people only have passports, but it's passports or birth certificates in general is what we need, either or. Some people submit both. I guess that's good, but we only really require one. Okay. And feel free to stop me at any time for any other questions about the previous phases. But I'll keep moving on. All right. In phase two, the duration is about 20 to 30 days, right? This is the portion of the process where we're going to be reaching out to your CFMs and getting that your conditional release, right? If you're first airman, once your window opens up, you maintain your window until you re-enlist. Okay. Once it's approved, we're going to try to get a block code put on your file. Some things that can help you guys in this section right here is if you are aware, like check your files, make sure that you're not already block coded for something else. If you are, once you get to this, all that hard work you put into this to get you to this point could be like almost immediately stopped if you already have something on file. So check with AFPC, just make sure you're good so that it'll be clear and easy for us to put a block code on it at this point. Oops. And then in phase three, think of this as all the stuff you've done up to this point. What we're doing is we're putting it together, putting in our system, and then we're going to eventually push that out to the field. Okay. Pre-ASI. The pre-ASI, it takes 12 days. This is probably, hopefully not though, your first time ever sitting down with an agent. When you go to the detachment, they're going to run a cognitive test. They're going to take a written exemplar, psychological evaluation that's going to be done on the computer. So will the cognitive test. I can say when you're doing those cognitive tests, well, not so much cognitive tests, when you're doing that psychological evaluation, be very truthful with it. I don't know how they do the algorithms in it, but it does show deception. And don't go in, be the person that you are when you're putting those answers in there. Don't try to say what you believe an agent will be. It'll show in there. I think we had a question. Okay, for financial records, as long as your debt income ratio is healthy, is debt a red flag? How does that work? Look, we're just trying, for those financial records, we're really just trying to make sure that you're living comfortably within your means, right? That you're being responsible with money in general. Some of the things that we're looking for is that you're right. If there's a big amount of debt, right, that can be a red flag for some people. But just being, good money, make sure that you're good to go. We can't take people in there with financial burdens, current ones. I will say that if you've had like let's say a bankruptcy in the past, you can still come in. How does it work? Yep. I think I answered that one pretty well. Okay. All right. Moving on here. You are going to be getting a you're going to be sitting down during this process with several other agents. Normally it's about 3. One of them is going to be more of a senior agent. It's going to be on probation. For this one right here, dress for the job you want. Blues, suit, something along those lines, right? Do your homework. Let them know that you have been involved in looking into the OSI process. Some people show up just wanting to do the OSI thing, and they don't have great conversations with their people. Go ahead, Timmy.
Hey, got a question here, sir. If you're at an assignment under a code 50 and you make it through phase 1 and are able to enter phase 2, would your block code supersede your current code?
Okay. Let me think about that one for a little bit.
I can answer that question, Agent Garcia.
Appreciate that one.
Yeah, so if you are under a code 50, unfortunately, you'll have to wait to apply within the fiscal year that your code 50 will end. It's very unlikely that the CFM that's holding that code 50 over you is going to release you early. I'm not saying it's impossible. It has happened, but in this scenario, we run into a lot of issues. So if say your code 50 is up January of next year, you're going to have to wait until October of this year to be able to apply. If you have any further questions about that, we can talk offline. But yeah, those codes are very unique, and we have to make sure that those codes are released. We can't block code you if you have a code attached to you. So if we can't get that code released, or if your code doesn't end for a couple years, we'll have to wait till that fiscal year that code ends in to be able to have you apply.
Awesome. Back to this interview here, right? When you're sitting down with those agents, understand that, they're friendly people. Honestly, they're just there to vet you, right? So don't be scared. Be yourself when you go in there. If you have a personality, that's what we're hiring for, right? Being personable and stuff like that. So if you got a personality, bring that to the table. If you don't, please don't make one up in the parking lot and then bring that in there. They'll pick up on a fake personality really quickly. But yeah, just be yourself. I mean, ultimately, we're trying to hire those people that we're going to want to feel comfortable with while working beside them. Okay, we can address the civilian side of the house and the recruitment process. Probably if you would like to just stay after, and we'll address that. But yeah, we can do that. It's going to be it's going to be different. Everything's done through U.S. jobs, and it's a lot of automation inside of there. We will talk to it. Thank you for that question. Okay, and some of the things that we're hiring for, right? These are the 12 core competencies down here. A lot of this stuff y'all should have or being able to talk to for yourselves when you come in. For example, your interpersonal skills. We're going to be sitting you down in front of somebody who's done something, the subjects, the witnesses, the victims, and you're going to have to be able to have a conversation with that person for a good couple hours. In some cases, I've had to do conversations with them for up to 8 hours, 12 hours, right? Just going over one singular event. That could be kind of difficult for some people. If that's outside of your wheelhouse, I don't say don't apply. I say go out there and start talking to people. Just talk to anybody, honestly. Just have conversations with people, and you'll get better at it.
Hey,
Okay,
sir,
so
I'm sorry, you got the question?
Yeah, we
Yes,
do
sir.
have that question here. An agent told me that all that he did was sitting at a desk and doing a lot of paperwork, and that it was nothing like they would say the job is. Is that true? Okay, so um, that is true for the people who take the job and that's what they do, right? Um, Acosta is a big fan of community policing, so he likes going out there in the environment and talking to people, making himself, like getting involved with the locals, right? Um, I'm one of those as well. I don't like being behind the desk, right? So stay on top of the paperwork, get it done. It's always going to be there. But if that's all you see on your horizon, then that's all there will be, right? Um, your job is the one you pretty much create, right? Uh, like let's say there was an incident with involves bullets and stuff like that, or a gunfire, right? Well, you could stay at the desk, but and send other people out there, or you can go out there into the field and do the fun stuff, right? It really depends on how your job is, how you create your environment. If you sit behind the desk, you'll sit behind the desk. But there is a good amount of paperwork.
Yeah,
Okay.
just a caveat on that. Sorry, the job is what you make of it. If you come in with a negative attitude, wanting to leave your previous career field, you're probably going to have the same type of attitude in this career field. So, you need to find what motivates you and what your why is, so that you can be positive in anything that you do in your life. So, coming into OSI, yes, it is a lot of paperwork. But if you stay on top of your tasks and you stay on top of your paperwork, you can do all the fun things. You can go out, you can be out half the day talking to people, building relationships so that people trust you as an agent and as a detachment that you're working under. So it's sad to hear that there are agents out there who are right. All they do is sit behind a desk, and that's what they find themselves doing. Yes, it does take up a lot of your time, but it really depends on what you make of it and how you operate as an individual. So yeah, figure out who you are, what your why is, and where you want to go in life before you decide to become an OSI, so that you have that positive motivation to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do to be successful.
Yep. It really depends on where you're at as well. I was at when I was at Nellis, man, I'd give everything for a day that I could just sit behind the desk, honestly, and just be able to do some of that paperwork, um, because you're always out in the field doing things. Um, but he talked to that why. That also goes into this thing right here with that stress tolerance. You're going to come in with that why originally. Um, that I want to be law enforcement, I want to help the mission, I want to do this right here. But I'll be honest with you, as you're in OSI, you're going to develop a lot more whys. Those instances where you've helped that kid out, where you've gotten justice for that person, where you put that that person who's been watching the child pornography, you assisted in with getting them behind bars and getting justice for that child. You're going to develop a lot of that, right? Those whys during that process. But even in that process, it's stressful, right? So that's when you're gonna have to rely on those things as well. How you manage stress is gonna be a big thing for us right now. When we're vetting you, and in that oral communication as well. That's a big one for us. You got to be able to talk to people. Teamwork, that one's a big one as well that we're going to be looking for. This is not a one-man shop here. You're not going to go into anything here, any crime scene, and just try to process it all by yourself, right? Uh, that teamwork also extends to your ranks. I know you guys probably see that we erase our ranks and we normally wear the SA on our chest or the special agent above our name badge. It's because I see some people in here. We got senior airmen in here. We have tech sergeants, I believe, in here. Um, all y'all are going to be working at the same level, right? He spoke to it before with that high expectations. Uh, the your senior airmen are going to be are going to be leading your operations, and those tech sergeants are going to be, doing what those senior airmen are saying, right? Because that's their op, and they've the one that planned it out, and they're the ones that are executing it, right? But it's that understanding amongst all the ranks as well. officers are going to be involved in that as well that you're going to be working with. Your first and second lieutenants until they reach captain, they're not really going to be going into leadership roles. So they're going to be working right there with you, and you guys are going to be working in those bullpens together, solving cases. So there's a lot of that right there. I know that was a little bit more of the realities profession, but I'll be honest with you, that should always be sprinkled on throughout this process. All right, after you go through the pre-ASI, you're gonna move over to the full ASI. I'll be honest, for this right here, it's gonna be a lot of hands-off for you guys. All the stuff that you've done to this point is gonna be consolidated and pushed off to the ASI, PSI cell, where they will be running that background stuff. For example, they're going to be talking to your family, your friends, your coworkers. They're going to be reviewing all those documentations, doing some more advanced law enforcement checks, and they're going to be looking over your military history, right? And ultimately, during this process, they're just making sure that everything that you've said so far is good to go and was, that's what it is, right? Developing that whole airman picture, right? On the last one, the last things you'll do with this right here is you're going to have that that interview with that ASI, the PSI ASI cell commander. It's normally about 30 to 45 minutes. It'll probably be over Teams or virtual in some state, and it'll just like I said before, be that person that you were during that previous one with those other agents. That's what we're looking for. Okay, I got a question right here. Does having a follow-on overseas assignment automatically deny a package? I believe the fact mentioned assignment cancellation. For something like that, there are ways to get around that, but ultimately, if you have that assignment on file, it will keep us from block coding you or keep us from doing anything during phase 2. So you could either curtail your DROS, which will eventually cancel your assignment, and then we can actually get you coded that way.
Hey,
Gosh, do you want to answer that, or anybody else want to answer that one?
Yeah, so I mean, Agent Garcia kind of hit on it. I mean, if you have an assignment, you're going to have to get to your next duty station and be on that assignment for at least 12 months. If you're going overseas, it's whatever matching up with your DEROS is. If you have an assignment, you can work with your leadership to get that assignment canceled, but that's all outside of our realm of responsibility. It's something you'll have to work on your own if you really are truly passionate about joining OSI, because I know these things from personal experience can hold up the process. For me personally, I tried to join OSI 7 years before I actually got into OSI because I was overseas and my DEROS didn't match up. And then I got back to stateside, and then I got DSD'd into being an ALS instructor. So, if you communicate with your leadership and let them know what your plans are, I mean, hopefully they'll be willing to work with you, but it's not a guarantee and it's not a promise. So there are some things that we can't do. But you can try to do on your side if there's some assignment issues that are holding you up from applying.
Hey guys, we had another question here. It says, for friends/coworkers, are those who we put on the application, or are these friends of friends?
So
Sergeant Ren-
when we're interviewing and this is just full transparency, right? We're gonna probably there are some that we're going to be mandatory. If you have a spouse, we're going to interview your spouse. If we identify a former spouse, we're going to be reaching out to that person as well. We'll probably reach out to a couple of your family members. We're not going to reach out to your whole entire family, right? We're going to reach out to a couple of those. From those, we're going to develop, so to speak, some new, some new contacts that we're going to probably reach out to. You know what I mean? When talking to one of your coworkers, we're going to say, hey, who else knew him better? Who else do you know who he hangs out with? Stuff like that, or stuff like that. So that's how we develop more, right? We're not gonna, if we go off of every last one that you guys said, hey, go talk to this guy. Well, you know, they might say the world of you, right? So we gotta go down those routes right there and develop some on our own. So we honestly won't know who we're gonna end up talking to. Some of these interviews or some of these investigations, they go some wild places, but I mean, for most of them, they're good to go. Hopefully that answers your questions. Okay.
Hey, we got another question here. When recruited into the Air Force, if the recruiter had told someone to withhold information during this process, and you disclose that new information, does that hinder you?
Okay. This can be tricky. Um, just kind of referring back to that Air Force form, I'm sorry, the AFOSI form 61. We're going to be asking you to give us some information, right? Be transparent as much as possible. Understand that if new information was divulged during that right there, we are federal agents and we are going to have to act upon it as such, right? Some of these applications actually turn into investigations. We've had a couple of those. Go ahead, Acosta.
Yeah, along the lines of that, we understand that recruiters in the past have told uh, individuals coming to the Air Force to withhold information. So, and get with us offline. There are some instances where we will do an MFR to fix that. Obviously, um, it's dependent on the situation and what it was, but um, we are understanding of that has happened, and we have individuals come into OSI that have had to correct their records because you were told to do something unknowingly coming into the Air Force without having any knowledge or expertise of really what our core values were at that point in time and upholding those things. So it's something that we can take a look at.
Yeah. Let's see here. And we understand that, like, there's a lot of recruiters out there who said, hey, how many times did you do marijuana or something like that? Don't mark it down on there or stuff like that. So we understand. That's why he said those MFRs. We'll get in there and cover that right there. As far as the extensive law enforcement check, this isn't like like you get a simple traffic stop and we're just vetting you for whatever it is. Extensive to us means that we've got several databases and we're going to plug you in there and we're going to just make sure that your name doesn't pop up on those databases. If they do pop up on the databases, we'll just see what information is tied to it. Worst case scenario, honestly, we'll just have a sit down and ask you to talk about it. So on that 61, if you believe that you have stuff on file, we're not asking for like specific days, but that you are aware of it, right? Hey, I was pulled over on this day, or maybe I got talked to or booked on this date. We're just looking for that kind of stuff, that transparency from y'all and that openness. And don't and feel, we're going to ask you to talk to it, but we're not going to, don't feel bad about it, right? Because we're just trying to get a good understanding of what that incident was. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a no-go. I've had stuff on my record. I've been arrested before, and I'm obviously here, so it's not a bad thing. Go ahead, Acosta.
Along the same lines of that, if you feel like something in your records have been expunged from the past, do your homework and make sure it was expunged. Or I would recommend just putting it on there or putting on that you potentially had some records that were expunged, because there's been times where individuals have, left things out because they thought their records were expunged, and then we find out about it. And we're not saying that you're trying to hide it from us, but it kind of can look that way sometimes. So just make sure if you feel like you had some records from your past expunged, do your homework. Make sure you reach out to that law enforcement agency that potentially processed all that stuff and put it on your records that you have records from the past that were expunged, so that we don't have any surprises when we're looking at your records. All right, so moving on to, if there's no other questions up to this point, this is pretty much the last part of the briefing. kind of going into what's next after you get accepted if you make it through the whole process. It's training and the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. So you get through that final full agent suitability investigation, you have your final interview, and you do well and you're accepted into OSI, you are going to be awaiting a class date to go to FLETC. A class date can happen anywhere from a couple weeks to a few months, depending on where you fall and how full the classes are that we are looking to fill. We have 4 classes a year of usually 48 students. But we are required to fill those pretty early to make sure that, we can keep those seats at the training center. So if you fall into a position where you're accepted and, we're still trying to fill a class within the next month, you might be leaving in 4 weeks. Or if we filled that class and the next class isn't for another 4 or 5 months, you might be waiting 4 or 5 months. So please be patient. And on the other side of that, we might have somebody fall out of a class for whatever reason. So we could be trying to fill a last minute class and ask individuals to leave within a week or 2 or a few weeks. So be flexible and be willing to work with us, and please be patient. So moving over to what the academy or the training center looks like, it's an 18-week course. You're going to have 11 weeks at the criminal investigative training program, and that's the civilian side of the house. So it's going to be 11 weeks working alongside individuals, instructors from other agencies from across all different types of federal agencies. You potentially could be in a class split with someone from another agency, or you can have a class all of OSI agents. Some individuals in the past that went through classes with, U.S. Marshals, NCIS. So there's a potential to be put into a class with other individuals, but we try to make it an all Air Force class. Once you finish that 11 weeks, you'll go on to the follow-on immediately into the 7-week OSI Academy, where you just kind of get more into the UCMJ and kind of how we operate as an agency different from other agencies. And you will continue the process there. And then once you complete that, you will go on to graduate. The Federal Law Enforcement Training Center is a closed center. It will be a TDY. You will not move your family with you. No one will allow to be on the facility unless it's graduation. So just be aware of that as well. After you graduate the academy, you have a 15-month probationary period, give or take. You can get off early or you can stay on longer depending on how efficient you are at completing tasks and running cases and what your leadership feels your capability is. During that 15-month probationary period, you'll have a basic extension program. So it's about a 3-week long online training course where you will take a break from running cases and your day-to-day job, and you'll just be a full-time student for about 3 weeks, where you'll get some a little bit of a refresher to see how you're doing within your job from the things that you've learned in the past, and a little bit of counterintelligence induction as well. During that 15 months, towards the end, you'll go TDY to New Jersey to the IKIC course, the Intermediate Counterintelligence course. You'll do a week online, I believe, and then 2 weeks in person. It's changed over the last few years, but you will go to New Jersey for an in-person course as well. Towards the end of your 15 months, you'll also get mission-specific training. So your detachment in OSI will look at, where we need to send people, or if you are interested in a specific path, you might be able to request to go down a specific path. So we have CRIM, we have counterintelligence, and we have fraud. So you have the ability to potentially choose which path you'd like to take. If not, then they're probably going to send you to some specialty training for one of those 3 areas to increase your expertise. Moving on to specialization. So this is the last part of our slides. We have a couple questions, it looks like, before we move into specialties. Looks like I was told that if you want to take leave, it is very hard to do so because you have a top secret. It is not hard to take leave at all. With a top secret, yes, you're going to be required to report all your foreign travel and your foreign contacts. So that's one of the, the differences about having a regular clearance, just a secret clearance, and a top secret. So you will have to coordinate a little bit more. So, but taking leave is just like as regular as it is in your career field you're in now, with the exception of having to report specific things. So there's not much difference to it. And then additionally, with the new requirements that are being pushed out for PFTs, would OSI be considered a combat unit? No, at this time OSI is not considered a combat unit, so we take all the regular PFT components of the fitness test. And then I was told that when going through background screening OSI, our phones are taken. Your phones are not taken. So that's a misleading information that somebody had given you. Your phone is not taken unless there's a criminal reason to take your phone. There's a lot of things that we have to do and submit warrants and such to be able to take somebody's personal phone. So your phone will not be taken once you're going through your background screening. Any further questions? All right, I'll get through these this last slide with all of our specialties, and then we can answer some questions at the end. So we have 12 specialties that within OSI that we've main focuses are in. So for the first one, we have all 12 of these specialties anybody can apply to go in, and I recommend if you are interested in a specialty that you, once you are in OSI and you've gotten to your first duty station, you start to communicate early and often that you're interested in specialties, because they are always recruiting, and that in these specialties they are kind of rank specific. They are not permanent like shred outs. Essentially, you'll most likely have to go back to the regular career field in OSI, CRIM, CI, or fraud at some point, especially if you rank, like I mentioned earlier, if you rank yourself out of it. So our first specialty is forensic science consultant. These individuals are crime scene specialists, so they go to specialized training where they inundate themselves with the different types of crime scenes that we see. They do blood spatter analysis, the body decomposition processes. So we coordinate with these individuals when we are working specific types of cases like death cases or child cases to make sure that we're not missing anything. They can fly out to assist us in larger crime scenes, and we can consult with them at any point in time for any case if we feel like we need to. But for death cases and child cases, we are required to coordinate with them. In the same vein, we have digital forensics, but obviously we're working with things in the digital nature like SIM cards, phones, computers, laptops. So if there's something that we need because we took somebody's phone for a criminal reason, then we are going to send it out to them. They're going to pull that information off for us, and they're going to send it back to us so that we can review it. We have polygraphy or polygraphers. This is a master's degree program, so you need to have a bachelor's degree before you apply for it. So if you are interested in this, just make sure that you're pursuing your bachelor's or you already have it, so that you can, be competitive when applying for it. We have technical services. There's two sides of the coin for technical services. We have the side of the house where you are going in and you're checking rooms and for bugs and microphones and cameras before going, let's say, a meeting or something. Then the other side of the coin is we have individuals who build those things. So they will turn a plant into a recording device, or they will bug somebody up for us that's going into a meeting, things of that nature. Then we have protective services. These are like your Secret Service individuals, but for the Department of the Air Force. So you could be attached to some general for some base or for some AOR, where you're the protective service detail. If you're overseas, you can do protective service details for ambassadors, U.S. ambassadors to whatever country that is. And then we have counter espionage. So these individuals are running sources or confidential informants at a higher level for counterintelligence. This is a very unique career field, and there's a lot of different things that we can't talk about within it. So unless you're part of it or you have the specific reasons for it. Looks like we had a question pop up. So before moving to the last 6, I'll address it. Does it help to have a degree in a specialty you're interested in? I am working towards a bachelor's in science and forensics psychology, and was wondering if it would help in my career. We don't seek degrees for specific specialties except for very few, but forensics is one that if you have if you have background in it or you have a degree in it, they do seek for individuals when applying for it. Obviously, it will help separate you from individuals who don't have that background, but it is not required for any of these except for poly, and then also for cyber is not required, but they do seek a lot of individuals who have a lot of cyber experience. But yes, I would say if you do have it and you're applying for one of these, it's probably going to help you stand out from others. Moving on to the next 6. We have specialized surveillance. So everyone's going to do surveillance within their regular day-to-day jobs as an agent. Maybe not as extensive as a specialized surveillance person, but in this one, you'll go to a lengthy course that's held down in the DC DMV area. So you'll potentially if you go down there, you'll get to do some fun stuff downtown where you're following individuals, trying not to get caught, changing uniforms like Superman in a phone booth, things of that nature. These individuals are gone quite a bit. If they're running surveillance on somebody who is crossing the border or getting on a plane, they're potentially going to have to follow them across that border on that plane as well. Global Operations Specialty Team, so GOST or GHOST used to be AST. These are like our Special Forces members of OSI. They are attached to SOF units, and they train with those SOF units, and they kind of support whatever mission set those SOF units are part of. They're deployed a lot. I see the question down there. I'll finish this one up, and then I'll get to that. So these individuals are probably not deployed, but they're gone about 200 to 300 days a year, essentially. So they're always gone. So if you like to travel and you like to do, special operations type of stuff, this is probably a career field or a specialty that you'd be interested in. The question is, how frequent are deployments, and typically are they the regular 6 months? Deployments in OSI, obviously, we do have deployments. They can be pretty frequent. They are kind of going towards more of a volunteer basis, but you can be deployed pretty much just like in your regular career field. They are your typical 6 months, but we have a workup period of about 6 weeks. So you tack 6 weeks to 2 months on top of that 6-month deployment. You're looking at about 8 months of total. Deployments are regular in OSI, though. If you haven't deployed in the career field you're in now, you're going to come into OSI and you're probably going to have a deployment within your first couple years, along with short tours as well. If you haven't had a short tour, OSI is everywhere at almost every base, so you will probably find yourself at a short tour at one of the short tour locations. Specialties, you can stay in them pretty much until you make master. They try to keep a fluid rotation in the specialties, so about 2 to 4 years. But they do like to keep people with the expertise within those specialties. So if you stay between the ranks of senior airman and technical sergeant, then it's potential that you could stay in longer. But once you rank into senior NCO position, then they're going to push you back to the career field to fill a leadership position. Undercover agents. An undercover agent, so this is a specialty, but it's not something that you will operate under all the time. You will operate in whatever capacity that you are as a regular agent, whether it be crim, CI, or fraud. And then if they feel that there's a need for somebody with your physical makeup or your background, then they will reach out to you and ask if you're interested in being an undercover agent for some specific operation. Used to be you can go in and update your information about your whatever, if you're interested in undercover, like your physical makeup and what your background is and stuff like that. And so whenever they're seeking for individuals for undercover agent positions, they can go into a data pool and see who would fit for whatever they need them for. Cyber agents, we're always seeking individuals for cyber because cyber warfare is at our forefront, and people with that expertise is highly sought after. So if you're interested in cyber and you have a cyber background, it's pretty easy to go straight from being a probationary agent into cyber. Always going through some type of training to make sure that you're keeping up with whatever the cyber community changes are. So it comes with a lot of training as well. Special projects. These individuals are in charge of protecting, our secrets when it comes to what type of programs we're involved in, like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, space stuff, whatever it may be. So they're attached to a unit or a company that is, running special types of projects for us, and they're protecting those projects to make sure that nothing is leaked. And procurement fraud. So we have fraud at a bigger level. Yet, like I said earlier, you have your base level fraud, and then procurement fraud is going to be your multi-billion-dollar contracts that have been, funding for bases or for any programs that we might have as well. So it's a specialty if you're interested in reading contracts and bank statements and tracking those things down. It could be for you. That's all of our specialties. Any questions specific, I can try to answer them, but if you are interested in a specialty and you want to know more about it, I would recommend that you reach out to the local detachment wherever you're at, and you see if they can get you in contact with someone from one of the specialties so they can share more specific information and what some of the requirements might be about those specialties, because they're all unique to themselves. With that, we have our information. If you are interested in applying, our link, and our slides might be stuck for a second. But on the next slide, you'll see our information with our email address on the org box to be able to apply for OSI, and then also a barcode or a QR code for you to click on to take a picture of, and which will take you to our page. If you have any questions specifically to enlisted recruiting, Special Agent Garcia and myself are the two enlisted recruiters, so most likely you'll be dealing with him or I. And then, like I'd mentioned, we have the pro staff members on our team that you will, at some point throughout the process, you will be seeing information pushed out from them as well. And then our civilian agent, Miss Jen Holland, who, if you have any questions about civilian the civilian process, we can link you up with her. She also does information sessions about the civilian side of the house. And then I think Mr. Lawless had posted some of the links for careers in enlisted and careers for civilians, which will go more into depth into that process. And that wraps up the briefing for this morning's session. If you have any specific questions. Awesome. So we have the civilian side of the house. It's very similar to what I talked about in the beginning. The difference is going to go through USA Jobs to look for positions that are open. Obviously, we're in a civilian hiring freeze right now, so once that stuff picks back up, is probably when you're going to start seeing those drop again. But there is a link up above here about 10 or so questions up. Mr. Laws put civilian recruiting, and then her information is on the very first slide, which we will post, which I think actually were posted in yesterday. You can reach out to Miss Holland, and she can shoot you some information more specific about civilian, or she can tell you when the next civilian session will be, if she's going to have any. And I think she has some stuff that's already pre-recorded that you can take a look at as well. Same with OTS. I think we can post the OTS or the officer process in here. Awesome. So there's for the officer process. So we only get so many slots a year for OSI, just like any other career field. So you can apply to be OSI and go through OTS, but it's not guaranteed that you'll get picked for OSI. So just be aware of that. Obviously, you rack and stack um, your choices whenever you're applying for jobs within OTS. It's an enlisted A1C. Would I have to wait until my retrain window to apply? There is an exception to policy letter. You have to be a senior airman to apply. So if you're getting close to sewing on senior airman, then you can apply. If you're, pretty close uh, to your so on date. Otherwise, you would have to wait until you're within, I would say, probably a month of putting on senior airman. But if you're not within your retrain window, we do have an exception to policy letter for that as long as you're a senior airman. You don't have to have ALS anymore, Airman Leadership School, to apply, but you do have to be a senior airman at the minimum. Yes, Miss Jordan.
Hi, I'm Rose Jordan. I'm the division chief for OSI Recruiting. And just I wanted to address a little bit about the civilian hiring piece. So right now, I'm sure you all are aware that we are currently in a civilian hiring freeze. That being said, just want to give you some details for when that freeze is lifted. One is, you can get to our civilian um, hiring information through our portal. And let's see, I don't know if Mr. Lawless has posted that direct link, but it's part of the toolkit. Um, Now, we do all of our hiring through USA Jobs, and we have several different options for how you will be considered for certain grades. There are opportunities to be hired at, the GS7 level, and then, grow to, the GS13 level in our developmental programs. But we also have a journeyman program where folks who are coming in with, a significant amount of law enforcement experience. For example, we have people who transition from, other agencies like NCIS, Army CID, or the FBI that have a considerable amount of experience that could be hired as a journeyman or at the GS13 level. So, the initial skills training will be a little bit different depending on what experience you come in with. So take a look at the civilian careers in our recruiting toolbox, and then email us if you have any additional questions. What we're doing right now with regard to civilian recruiting is really just a civilian information push to make sure that people understand, what it is that AFOSI does, um, um, how civilians play into that, so that you have that information and it's current for whenever the civilian hiring freeze is lifted. Over.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Yes, for the information about that, I would get with Miss Holland, whose email address was put up above, and then go on that civilian recruiting toolbox and take a look at that. And if you have any further questions about it after that, Miss Holland should be able to, or you can address through the email as well for the org box. Does OTS slots for OSI prioritize internal hires, or is there that a better question for the email contact? I would shoot your questions to the email contact. Obviously, we do have individuals from internal who apply for OTS to go from the enlisted to the officer side, and we do have a limited amount of slots when those do come out. So I would reach out to that officer org box and ask any specific questions about that. To what Agent Garcia stated, fixing your records, for an example, smoking marijuana would be a member applying, get in trouble. or is it just a fix of the record if there were other narcotics or street drugs that were not disclosed because of withholding information does not hinder you. So this is going to be specific to, I think, what you asked earlier about the recruiter telling you to withhold information on when joining the Air Force. This can be corrected through an MFR. We've had people do it before. There are specific drugs that within OSI and as a federal law enforcement agency that will not allow you to serve in the capacity of a federal agent. So if you have any of that stuff on your records, we can shoot over what our disqualifying factors worksheet looks like. So you can take a look at that. But again, some of these things depending on what it was, could bring up some other situations as well. I have a green and red color deficiency. A PIP test. I'm able to pass Friends Word Latin test. Does this disqualify me entirely, or is this something waiverable? Agent Garcia?
Yeah, so we have been working with several people on their color vision tests. What we're going to end up doing is you're going to go through the process like everybody else and submit all your paperwork up front. Once we get all your phase 1 documentation, in addition to that, we're going to ask for those tests, and we're going to judge off of it, right? Depending on how far, like how far from the center, I guess, so to say, your red-green color vision is, we'll either probably have to stop it at that point, or we'll push it on to see if we can get you to a detachment where they can run some tests on you to see how they apply in real-world type situations. So it's not a complete no-go, but it's more stringent as far as how we vet and provide waivers for color vision. Hope that answers your question there.
Thank you, Agent Garcia. There's no other questions. That wraps up the briefing for today, for this morning. If you have any further questions, state the details of actually something that I can request. Yes, if you shoot us an email, actually, can we drop the disqualifying factors worksheet in the chat so everyone can take a look at it? I'll pull it up for you real quick and on.
Oh, okay. If you got it already.
I believe I have it right here. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for your time. If you have any further questions, you can shoot us an email by following the email address, and you could also, if you could go on a review the link and our toolbox to make sure that you know if you have any questions that those could also be answered in there as well, specifically. But thank you for you guys' time, and I greatly appreciate you guys coming out and taking a listen to our brief. Sergeant
Okay,
Reynolds.
thanks everyone.
Yes. Sorry, Sergeant Reynolds, if you can't see that, because I think it gave me a message for people that were unverified, might not be able to see the links that were or the forms that were dropped. So if you could just shoot us an email if you can't see that, and then we'll get it shot over to you.
We're also holding another virtual information session at 1300 Eastern Standard Time today. So if you would like to attend again or have a coworker or a friend attend, please let them know. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Sergeant Reynolds, Put your first name in there, or direct send me your information, and I'll send you information right now. I'll just send you the application right now.